So guys, dito na naman tayo, mag-react tayo sa my story. So, umpisahan na natin ito. Okay.
Okay, ladies, time to wake up. Mom was a basketball coach at my older sister's college, and she always had that stupid whistle, even at home. Mom yelled, "On 1, 2, 3. Hearing her countdown, Ava and I immediately jumped. Mom said, "In 30 minutes, both of you should be dressed and ready to go," as if we had a choice. Mom inspected us from top to bottom every day. She said, "Sophia, you got an A- on your literature paper? This is unacceptable. I expect you to memorize 10 Shakespeare sonnets by the end of the day." Then she turned to Ava and said, "Oh my God, sweetie, I love that nail polish. How's everything at college?" "Hi, my name is Sophia, and I just wanted to be a normal teenager and have fun at school. But things turned into a complete disaster when I developed a crush on my teacher." One day, while walking towards my locker, I saw Ava rush out of my school building with tears streaming down her face. What was she doing at my school? I tried to run after her, but she had already disappeared. Back home, I asked her what had happened, but she yelled, "Mind your own freaking business, you nosy rat." What was her problem? Well, I couldn't be bothered for too long. I had a birthday party to get ready for. After much begging on my part, Mom had agreed to let me have a Harry Potter-themed birthday party, and I invited my whole class. Just as I was about to blow out the candles, Mom shouted, "Party's over, kids." Mom made me leave my own birthday party because Ava had a test and a project due the next day, and she was having a panic attack. Everyone was really scared of her and left quickly. She marched me up the stairs to Ava's room. I held back angry tears as I tutored her for her test. All I could think was, oh my God, this girl is stupid. She's never gonna graduate or get a job or move out. Later that evening, Mom shouted from her room, "Sophia, come here." She said, "I need you to stay home and look after your sister tomorrow. She's clearly not feeling well." I told her that we had a forest trip tomorrow, but she said I had to cancel it because my sister needed me. This time, I put my foot down. I said, "No, Mom, you already ruined my birthday party. I've been waiting for that trip forever, and I'm going. Ava's not a baby anymore." Ava was about to graduate from college, but Mom sometimes made me feel like I was her babysitter. She was like her princess because she was the beautiful one, while she thought since I was the brainy one, she didn't have to worry or care about me. The next day, Mr. Johnson, our biology teacher, told us to draw a name from a bag to find a partner for a challenge he'd set, which was to find 3 ghost orchids. I almost screamed when I saw who my partner was. I blurted out, "Scott? Oh my God." He was the famous weirdo in school who once ate a fish right from the fish tank. Patricia turned to Mr. Johnson and asked him if he was joining as well. Oh, I wish he would join us and be my partner instead. Imagine if he'd take off his shirt and swim in the creek, and then I'd join him in the water just to touch his glorious abs. Mr. Johnson asked, "Is there something on my face, Sophia?" I snapped out of my thoughts when I realized that everyone had already left for the hunt. I apologized and immediately caught up with Scott. I ignored him the whole time. We first saw an orchid in a bird's nest, but instead of taking it, Scott took out the egg, broke it, and ate the yolk. I shouted in disgust. "What the hell, Scott?" I went down a different path and saw another orchid buried in a tree trunk. I was about to take it out when I heard a low growl behind me. It was a huge black bear. I was paralyzed with fear until I heard a familiar voice. "Don't move. Stay calm. Most bears don't want to attack if you just stay still." Mr. Johnson, my savior. The bear came closer, and I swear I peed in my pants. I heard Mr. Johnson chuckle as the bear finally turned and ran away. Mr. Johnson asked me if I was okay, and I felt 100 butterflies fluttering in my tummy right at that moment. Suddenly, it started to rain really hard. He covered me with his jacket as we ran to the nearest shelter. The fact that I was alone with him was making my heartbeat race. And then, all of a sudden, my stomach growled. He picked an apple from a nearby tree and gave it to me. Then he got himself one too. Suddenly, he started coughing non-stop. He was choking. Damn it. Panicking, I stood behind him and gave him a few thrusts just below his abs, which, by the way, were actually hard as rocks. The piece of apple flew out of his mouth, and he was finally able to breathe properly. But then he suddenly passed out. I rolled him over to his back, but he wasn't responding. Should I do CPR now? Thank God I had some training. I kneeled beside him, pinched his nose, and pressed my lips against his. His eyes flew open, and I pulled back, embarrassed. At that very moment, I wished that the apple would turn into a monster and just eat me alive. Mr. Johnson, I started, but suddenly my classmates gathered around me, calling me a hero. When we got home, all I could think was, he was my first kiss. When I went to my locker the next day, I was surprised to see a rose and a letter which said, "Keep smiling with those sweet lips of yours, because if you were a fruit, you'd definitely be a fine apple. Love, S." S? Mr. Johnson's first name was Stephen. When I turned around, I saw Mr. Johnson standing right behind me. He said, "Hello, Sophia. I haven't properly thanked you for saving my life yesterday. Let me know when you're free so I can treat you to dinner or something." I answered, I'll check my schedule first, sir." Before turning away, he said, "Great, I'll see you later then." That night, Ava barged into my room and started yelling at me. She showed me a video on her phone. How did she get that? She shouted, "What the hell is this all about? He's mine, Sophia. He's my boyfriend." What? She revealed that they had been secretly dating for a year now. She then said, "He broke up with me yesterday. That's why I was crying. Now I know you were the reason. I hate you." She stopped talking to me after that. When I found more love letters in my locker, I decided to confront Mr. Johnson and tell him to stop. When I marched over to his office, I was shocked by what I saw. I was furious. Was he sliding me letters and making out with my sister? Mom would definitely be disappointed to know what her princess has been doing this whole time. Later that evening, I told her all about Ava and Mr. Johnson. She demanded to know who this teacher was, so I showed her the video. She shouted, "You kissed him?" Before I could react, she immediately rushed towards Ava's room and warned her, "Stay away from him. Do you understand? That man is dangerous." After that, Ava was still sneaking into my school to see Mr. Johnson, even though I reminded her about Mom's warning. I decided to find out more about him. I also tried to dig into Mom's Facebook and Instagram, but I didn't find anything related to him. One night, while I was looking for something in the attic, I found an old box in one corner with old albums. It was full of Mom's pictures with a younger man beside her who seemed like a gardener. And the crazy thing was, he looked a lot like Mr. Johnson. I flipped more pages, and it looked like they might have been lovers? Mom suddenly appeared and asked, "What are you doing here?" I demanded answers from her, and she finally gave in and started explaining. "Stephen was my first love." She said that when she was younger, she fell in love with their much younger gardener. "My parents wanted me to marry your dad, the son of their business partner." Mom said she stole my grandparents' jewelry and money and ran away to be with Mr. Johnson. But then he ran away with everything, leaving me a message saying that he would hurt me if he ever saw me again. I was furious. I had to bring this monster down. Ava would know just what to do. But there was one little problem. She was madly in love with him. One day, I hid by the window of his office and waited for Ava to go in. This time, I knew what to do. I recorded their makeout session and immediately sent it to the principal using an anonymous account. Mr. Johnson was fired immediately for behaving inappropriately on the school premises. Mom was delighted, but Ava was so mad at me. The minute she found out, she ran up to me and shouted, "You jealous little brat, how could you do this? I love him." I told her everything that Mom had told me. She was horrified. I said, "He's a monster, Ava." A week later, I opened my locker and gasped, "Another letter! I'll dance with you soon. Love, S." I threw the letter away. The next day, Ava and I were out when she stopped in her tracks and pointed to a restaurant. It was Mom and Mr. Johnson holding each other's hands. Was Mom betraying us? Ava flipped out and rushed into the restaurant. She started yelling and was about to slap Mom when Mr. Johnson stopped her. Mom immediately started explaining everything. She said Mr. Johnson had told her the truth about everything. He hadn't stolen anything from her. Grandpa had set everything up and forced him to leave town. Mom was furious and heartbroken. She kept blaming her parents for ruining everything. One day, I heard her and Dad fighting loudly. Mr. Johnson's name came up. To my horror, Mom then announced that she was divorcing Dad. Dad was so devastated. Ugh! Look at what that pervert had done. I couldn't let him ruin our family. I tried to talk to Mom, but she just shouted, "Please, Sophia, leave me alone." I wanted to talk to Ava about this, but she wouldn't let me either. I tried to talk to Dad about it, but he just told me that everything would be fine soon. That night, I woke up to my parents' loud voices downstairs. Dad said, "See, I told you. He disappeared again. Why do you never learn?" Mom didn't answer. At school, rumors started to spread about how Mr. Johnson's neighbors had reported him missing. Scott said, "He's here. I can feel it." I told him to keep his weirdness out of this and walked off. I was pretty glad Mr. Johnson was gone. A week later, Ava and I were shocked when Mom and Dad announced that we were moving to another city. Dad explained, "Your mom and I think we need a fresh start. We're going to give our marriage a real chance." As we loaded our bags into the car, I heard an unusual sound coming from the distance. To my absolute surprise, it was Scott in a ridiculous outfit, riding a horse. Boy, he really was something else. Someone yelled, "Stop!" But wait, Scott wasn't alone. Sitting behind him was Mr. Johnson? Mr. Johnson yelled, "Don't you dare take her away from me, you lunatic. You locked me up in the basement of my own house." Dad burst into tears as some policemen charged over to arrest him. Scott told me that he'd been really curious about Mr. Johnson's disappearance, so he went around to his house to play detective. Mr. Johnson said Dad had come to talk to him about leaving Mom alone, but when he wouldn't agree, he got angry and knocked him out. Dad said, "I just wanted your love for all these years." Mom answered, "I tried, but I can't. I'm sorry." My heart broke for the both of them, but I guess the heart wants what the heart wants. A month later, at Patricia's party, someone tapped me on the shoulder. My jaw dropped upon seeing Scott. He looked different. Hot, actually. He asked, "Have you read my last letter?" I asked, "What letter?" And then it hit me. Oh my gosh, it was him all along. He said, "I'm sorry if I creeped you out. I just wanted you to notice me, but apparently it wasn't working." I turned to Ava to see her reaction. She gave me an approving nod as Scott led me to the dance floor. One day, after Scott had dropped by to give me some home-baked cookies, Mom said, "He really is such a sweet, sensible boy. Ava, why don't you ask him out? He'd be perfect for you." Ava said, "Meh, he's really not my type, but maybe a change wouldn't be such a bad thing." She knew Scott was into me. Like, hello, he just gave me cookies he made himself. I was going to take care of this before she made any move. I texted him, "Hey Scott, movie and dinner tomorrow?" I instantly got a text back saying, "Yes." I texted back, "It's a date." Scott and I started dating over the next couple of months, while Mom finally decided to move in with Mr. Johnson. Mom convinced Ava and me to live with them. It was actually weird given our histories, but after the first few months, I started seeing Mr. Johnson as a father figure. Ava was barely talking to us and focused more on school. One night, Ava stormed in and showed us something that gave us the shock of our lives. A positive pregnancy test kit. She shouted at Mr. Johnson. "Welcome to fatherhood, Stephen," he shouted back. "No, it's a lie. You're crazy." Mom joined the shouting party. "Stop it. You both are disgusting." Mr. Johnson demanded another test to confirm her pregnancy. Ava said, "I already took the test. Don't try to run away from your responsibility." Mom was furious when she found the real pregnancy test kit under Ava's bed. It was negative. The one that she showed us was fake. Ava flipped out and shouted at her. "It can't be. Stephen is mine." Mom was so angry that she kicked her out of the house. She told me, "You've always been the good daughter. I don't know what's wrong with that one." I felt sorry for Ava, so I asked for Scott's help, but little did I know how much trouble I was again getting myself into. Scott suggested, "We have a spare bedroom in our mansion. Your sister can stay there in the meantime." I said, You're the best. Minus the weirdness, of course. Ava immediately moved in, and after a week, I decided to visit her and was shocked to see where she was. In Scott's room, trying to force him to kiss her. I screamed at her. "What the hell are you doing, Ava?" She replied, "Can I have him, sis?" Oh my God, seriously? Scott came up to me and told me that Ava was literally crazy. He kicked her out of their mansion, and I stopped talking to her too. I still wanted to help her despite what she'd done, but when I heard that she had already found a place to stay, probably with someone's boyfriend, I decided to just keep things the way they were.
No!